Usually I walk to my ministry. Sometimes I take the train or buses, so just it's very democratic. Since I'm Minister of Environment, we politicians, we have to practice what we preach. We have to show an example, and we have to, once we persuade the population with urban mobility to take less cars, it's important you show with your own example. I have 3 kids, but we rent car when we need it, otherwise we don't own a car. We are very green country. Lithuania is very much forested, many lakes, many rivers, and we try to bring back wood and construction into our housing and construction industry. And it's mainly because of climate change, because wood locks in carbon dioxide. Meanwhile, in construction industry, you have big emitters like steel industry, concrete industry, and seen from the big perspective, construction industry accounts for over 40% of total CO2 emissions. So if we can shift from concrete and steel into something which is locks carbon dioxide, and it's wood, that's how we can save a lot of emissions. And our pavilion here in Dubai actually represents our strategy, that you can build wooden bridges, wooden skyscrapers, wooden houses just as easy as you could do it with concrete and steel. We have a global food crisis because we eat much more meat, and especially the Chinese demand of meat has made a big push towards deforestation in the tropical regions, and we have to look differently at the food production, and we have to go into the chain, how the food is produced. And we are very proud that Lithuania has a company, Auga Group, which is the biggest organic food producer in European Union, and both in milk and grain production. So we look at the chain, how the food produced. It's not only about fertilizers and not use of fertilizers, but it's also about tractors which will use biomethane instead of petrol and diesel. It's also about the cows and milk production, what kind of food cows are given, and but we actually decrease the biomethane emissions. And we also look at the fertilizers, how to exchange them and how to use less fertilizers and use more organic fertilizers, and clean our rivers, and also the climate. Plastic is a global challenge. Plastic is a good material, but very broadly distributed along with the industries. But the biggest challenge is collecting and recycling. And in Lithuania we have a system, a management system of collection, through which we collect above 90% of total bottles sold in our markets. And this is a very high success rate, because 9 out of 10 bottles are collected back. And in the new production of plastic PET bottles, we already introduce, in some cases, above 30% of recycled materials from the bottles. So this is world's leading examples, both patents in Lithuania and also the system which collects back the bottles. So of course the future is about biodegradables and non-fossil materials inside this food industry, but in the meantime we have to look about the successful systems of collection of plastic, recycling of plastic, and we have proven that you can do it in the food industry. We were highly dependent on fossil imports from other countries, and after 2008 crisis, when global fossil raw materials went up, we actually shifted in 10 years from in our heating system, because we are a Nordic country with cold winters. We shifted from almost totally fossil fuels or gas-dependent central heating system towards 90% of biomass and renewables. So now, for example, in our cities, in the larger cities, the price spike is much less because we are heating our houses with renewables instead of gas, and we see how gas prices has increased and inflated recently. Usually when I meet foreigners who visit Lithuania, there's two things they always say. Nobody knows where it is, that's why it's so exotic, because once you come home and it's something totally extraordinary. The second thing they mentioned, it exceeded expectations, and with natural environment, especially nature, which is very close to cities, and very, I would say, affordable countryside tourism. So we are not a very urban country. Of course, first, cities are marvelous with architecture, and we are all different, but the greenery of the country is actually the key unique selling point. If you would like to see a nature where you go 2 days on a trail and you don't see a single rubbish litter, if you could drink water from the lakes, and you could tent with a family totally safely without being scared of being robbed, that's Lithuania. A safe country, green, clean, and welcome to Lithuania.